everybody. Thank you for checking out today's video. Now we've got a functional, drivable Axial Yeti Junior Can-Am. Under the hood, we have a whopping 0.07 cubic inches of single-cylinder nitro power. And this is what she looks like. This was my quickest nitro swap ever. Took me exactly 4 days. Day 1 was layout, day 2 was cutting and mounting, day 3 was getting it to start, and day 4 it does drive. You see the fuel tank and the exhaust stick up through the hood here, as well as a small section of the engine hood, cylinder head. Those tubes go on down. So we're using stock steering, of course aftermarket throttle, and it's loud. Of course it is, right? It's nitro. So let me give you a rundown of everything that I had to do to this thing. Let's do it in no arbitrary direction, front to back. First and foremost, throttle servo. You'll see this is a MG09S. Those are the little guys that I've used on several of my other mini builds. They're metal geared, and it's got two little plastic tabs where I can put one screw into the plastic tab and the other one into the bumper. So this guy nestled right into the front bumper like he was meant to live there. And the throttle, of course, also controls the brake. We'll fire this up with the rubber band mounted 800 milliamp receiver pack. Got that all fired up, just so you can see the throttle in operation. So you got full throttle. You notice that little cam down below also moving. That is the brake. So throttle, idle, brake. Tricky, right? So it's a brake push rod that comes from the throttle cable. You'll see this little bend in it. I got that from my RC airplane days. We put those bends in control rods so that we can easily adjust them, so I can tweak the length. But that goes to a 90-degree, it's actually a servo horn for a 10th scale servo, and it is spaced off. You might be able to see those little golden spacers down there, using a very long screw, but in a stock screw location for the transmission housing on this axial chassis. So that 90 degrees goes from a pole this way to a pole this way, and it pulls that little piece of fuel line tubing right up against the clutch bell. Same way I did it on my Mini T and Mini B. It's proven to be fairly effective, though right now the wheels are spinning because there's oil all over the place, because it's a nitro. Of course there is, right? Let's look at the chassis itself then. I had to cut quite a bit off of this whole housing where the stock electric motor mount would have been, not only from the bottom of the chassis, but also from the top transmission cover. Lots of Dremel work in there. Let's see if we can get it in some light. Also, that clutch bell could live there and shine. And cut it really close on the stock steering rack, but I was able to shave it away without damaging any of the stock steering components. Next, of course, we've got the engine. This is a CXP 0.07 motor with a pull start. I had to rotate the pull start sideways. You notice the pull start isn't upward, but coming out the side. So when you start it, it's pulling this way instead of pulling this way. Whatever, it works. I did that so that it wouldn't get in the way of the rear upper suspension components. We are now rocking a Spectrum SR215, which just barely fits down there, honestly. This SR215 only runs the servos. It doesn't have to do anything else. So the single 800 milliamp battery up front is plenty. Actually, I thought of putting an even smaller 2-cell 400 milliamp battery up front. We'll see if that pans out. The exhaust, this is a Turnigy exhaust. It's a actual metal 2-piece manifold with a NT18 exhaust pipe. This exhaust pipe came off of the NT18T, the monster truck version, and has a single screw threaded through a bit of plastic clean through it just to hold it in place. Unfortunately, that means that the exhaust is spraying down and all over the chassis. I'm sure you can see all the shiny down there. That's this exhaust just spattering all over the place. And then in the very back, we have this very at-home HSP fuel tank. I think it's an ounce, might be an ounce and a half. We went with this instead of the Sullivan round tank so that it would clear the exhaust, but then also it has a door, so you can refill it just that much easier. All in all, this was a very interesting build. I didn't think I'd be able to squeeze the engine on here. I had to cut off a lot of this extra battery mount, as well as a bit from below the battery mount, and grind away a little bit back here at the rear left lower four-link mount on the chassis, just to get that engine to fit. And of course, the engine mounts. But it does mount, and it does drive. It's not anything to write home about, but it's just another feather in my cap, I guess. This was a really rewarding build for me because it went so quickly and things just barely fit, but they did fit, and it's kind of reassuring to know that I still got it. You know, I haven't been doing this in a while, and the first one I dust off and give a shot comes out fine. Anyways, we're going to buzz around the mall here after hours and get this engine broken in. The fuel line back up because it was flooded. We no longer have that track. Now it's a rock crawler course over there. So you're just gonna have to watch me putt around the store, I guess. Oh yeah, that's rich. There's the brake test. Brake. Not too bad. Let's just see if I can even maneuver this. No, doesn't turn sharp enough. Jeez. Starting to lose traction. About half power. It's pretty good. The clutch engagement is very, very slow, very poor, but it does engage, and when it does, it takes a while to spool up, but half throttle is probably good 15 miles an hour. Basically out of gas anyways. Yeah, nothing left in the tank, but boy does it drip. This has got to be my messiest ever build. You see all that oil coming off of the exhaust? I don't have a tube the right diameter to stick in the exhaust and reroute it, so it just ends up in the chassis. So there you have it. 16th scale Axial Mini Yeti Junior Nitro swap with severe oil leaks everywhere. I'll see if I can clean up where that oil's coming out of the exhaust that hard. But hey, it runs and drives, and the end goal for me for every one of these projects is that it runs and brakes and steers and is nitro powered. So this one's a win. I'm going to do at least another video on this, possibly drive it around our crawler course here. I don't know how far I'll get, probably not very far, but I've got to break the engine in first. So we'll work on that, and yeah, keep an eye out for that next video. It will be for sale, and I'm not sure if it will be available on the internet or locally. I've already had a guy express interest here at the shop, so I'll keep you updated on that in my next video. But in the meantime, thanks for checking this one out, and look at my at least 4 other electric to nitro conversion swaps. There'll be more in the future, so hit subscribe. Thanks for watching.